Hey, everybody, it's episode 61 of the Zenspath 4-Button Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Powers, all the way down here in, well, stupid ass Lost Florida. Let's just stick with that one, I guess, for now. But joining me from much better north, Joey.
Hello. Don't put yourself down, man. You know?
I have to put Florida down. Florida is passing stupid laws.
That's true. But,
Yeah.
it's not you, it's your state.
Believe me, I am trying to fight it. Oh, man. We're recording this one a little bit early. It's going to get posted around the same time, but it's going to feel kind of early. So if something happens after Tuesday, yeah, my bad. I was out of town. So thanks for joining me on kind of short notice to get this up so I don't have to worry about it while I'm traveling, running about.
Oh, yeah. No problem. And your East Coast accent came out.
Oh, God, it did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. What did
the
I
way
say?
You said
What was it? Posted?
Mm-hmm.
Posted.
Well, not like that. It was like a bigger O.
Okay.
Just for context,
Virginia.
I singled out Jeremy's accent without any prior knowledge to this because I was like, this is what I do because
I was amazed. Like, you actually picked out Virginia. I was like, what?
I'm insufferable. What can I tell you? But no, I think it's fun. I think it's fun to try to guess people's dialects or accents. You could probably guess mine if you just pay attention to how I say vowels. But yeah, I just wanted to toot my own horn for a second. I don't know.
Toot away. I thought it was great.
Toot.
So we're going to go ahead and jump into what we've been doing, what you've been playing. So Joey, you are the guest. Please start us off.
What have I been playing? So what did I play before this? I played Horizon Forbidden West. Oh, I talked about that last time I was on here.
Okay.
And then after Forbidden West, I finished up Front Mission Gun Hazard. And then I played through Elden Ring twice.
Jesus.
But just so we're clear, New Game Plus is very fast if you just beeline toward objectives. I didn't do that in like the critical path, like my first playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
But my second one, because I had missed a trophy, I basically just beelined through the game. And you're broken as hell in New Game Plus, so it's a lot easier. What else? I think that's pretty much it. I feel like I played something else and I completely forgot. This is why I should write down the things that that I do.
If only somebody had made notes you had access to online the whole time.
Jeremy's a terrible host and just expects me to go into these blind, doesn't make any nice outlines or anything like that. No, to be fair, even if I had sat down and wrote out some notes, I probably would still blank.
That's fair.
But I actually played Elden Ring a little bit later. I didn't get it on release. I got it like 4 or 5 days after release. I ordered the collector's edition and it didn't come in. And then I ordered the PS5 edition and they sent me the PS4 one. And I'm like, all right, fine. I don't even care. I'm just going to play it. And so I did.
Are you playing it on a PS5?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I played the PS5 version because there's a free upgrade. So
I'm kind of curious on that one. You can play the PS4 version on the PS5, but you play the PS4 Pro version, and it'll run in lower resolution, but you get a lock 60, which is kind of nice.
Oh, huh. Yeah, I didn't try the PS4 version. I just played the PS5 one. But they're two separate trophy lists. Well, I mean, they're same trophies, but two different. There's like a stack. So at some point, I will play the PS4 version to get that platinum. I think when I want to replay it, just to do it, maybe. I don't know.
I don't think I'm ever gonna. I have it on Xbox. I guess I'll jump into what I've been playing. So I've also been playing Elden Ring. Once again, as always, all the way back from Demon Souls when it was a PS3 import to now, I have bought and tried to play every freaking game in this series, almost every one of them. I think Sekiro is the only one I haven't picked up. But I've got Bloodborne, all the Dark Souls, even on like the Switch, the Xbox versions, all that stuff. And I play them for a little bit and they always kind of fall out of interest with me. But dang it, for some reason, Elden Ring is just I've stuck with it. I've only played it for 11 hours, which for me that's a lot for this series. But I catch myself wanting to keep going back and play it. Like I keep finding more stuff. But our actual roundtable today would be talking about Elden Ring specifically, so I'm going to hold off on a lot of that till later.
Hell yeah.
But the other thing I played, and I want to know if you messed with this yet, was the Kirby and the Forgotten Lands demo.
Oh no,
Oh my
I have
god!
not played the demo yet. My girlfriend, however, should probably download the demo and
You
play the
sh-
demo of Kirby.
you should. So there are 3 levels to choose from. It gives you the very first level, the second one, and then a boss fight. And when you play through and beat all of those, it lets you go back and get the fully upgraded versions of all the different abilities you can find. So you can see how it would be once you level up and do stuff with them to play through them again. And after
Mhm.
that first one, it also gives you a code, which you can look up if you don't have to play the demo to get this. But apparently, if you put this code into the main game when it comes out, you get like special items and other stuff to mess with. So cool. But I've tried not to let Jennifer play this yet because I still want to stream Kirby when she finally
Mhm.
gets it.
That's
Um,
good.
it's going to be too good. And my other friend Joey, Joey with a Y, as he calls it, correct spelling Joey.
I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Well, you're both neither right nor wrong. It's whatever. But
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Mr. Switzerland.
right. But Jeremy is with a Y and never with an IE. You monsters.
Yes. Hmm.
He is gracious enough that he said he would moderate that Twitch stream to keep everybody off that would be saying anything bad. She's not going to see what's on that chat anyways. I'm not about to subject that girl to the internet. Not happening.
Oh.
But we'll tell her the good ones. But holy crap, I am so happy with how that game plays, how it runs, how it looks, how it feels, the little details and jokes, the facial animations, everything has been just top notch. And I like the fact that after playing it, it very much is a cross between Kirby and Super Mario 3D World
Oh, interesting.
because you have that similar 3D but kind of guided path for 3D World. So it's not going to be like Odyssey where you can run the camera around and run everywhere. Um, but I did like that it has 2 different play modes when you play it. There's a harder mode that you can play that has all the enemies and everything there, but they do include an easier mode that you can select to play. So Jennifer might end up using that for if there's like a difficult boss or something she can do. And I like the fact that you can actually choose that. Obviously, Kirby versus like the argument of like Elden Ring having difficulty settings a little
Well, wait, hold
different.
on. You said there's a boss in the demo?
Yeah,
Well, let me just tell you, Jeremy, if you beat that boss while using a power, you didn't really beat it.
you have to just spit back the stars it puts out.
Right. If you think that you beat a Kirby game while using a power, no. Grow up.
If you
You know,
ever
like
do the float, you're done.
if you ever use like more than 2 jumps, no, then you're not a real gamer.
Oh, I love the argument.
This my bit here is like from soft elitist trying to use that ideology on like little
Everything.
Timmy, like which I love Kirby. Don't get me wrong,
You play
but I
Gran
don't really
Turismo
know if
with
I want.
brakes? How dare you?
Right? I don't know if I really want Kirby to be difficult. Like that's
Well,
not really something I look for in a Kirby game.
I like how they did some of the portable ones, especially like and they do this with some of the Mario games also. You play through the game through the normal story, and it's regular difficulty. It's not bad, but you can keep playing, and that's when they put like the advanced, more challenging levels, and you can kind of go in there
Mhm.
and they ramp it up. Where like I'm dying in a Kirby game, and I'm like, oh, this just doesn't feel right, but hey, it's fun.
Uh, that's a really good point, and I
Uh-huh.
I will hold on to this point when we have our roundtable
Okay.
roundtable hold discussion.
Right. We're putting a pin in everything. So many pins this episode.
Mhm. Yep.
The last thing about it, we're talking about the boss fight with Kirby. I like the fact that depending on the items you bring in when you fight them, you can actually defeat them in different ways, and they have different animations for it. So when I'm fighting this giant gorilla, you can get down there and try and freeze it, and the looks on its face as it's trying to freeze, like you see it start to panic and like look around as it's slowly covering in ice. It's cute. I like how they do it. So just play the demo or get the game. It looks great. And lastly, I finally picked back up Dragon Quest XI S
Hell
for the
yeah.
Switch. Um, I have this trip I'm going on that I'm going to be gone for a week to Washington D.C. Come back, and then I'm on a flight at 6 o'clock in the morning the next morning to go out to Wyoming for a week to work on a couple places. So I'm going to be gone for about 2 weeks from my house. So it's like, all right, I'm going to bring an RPG with me and focus on that.
That's enough
So,
time to beat like 10% of Dragon Quest 11. So luckily for you, you have that going for you.
oh my God, what have I done? Um, well, I was hoping I could actually have a little, people know I'm playing this, so I'm going to have to do it. But I went over and had a nice little chat with Frank and them over at the Super RPG Friends and be like, hey, this is the time I have. Here are a list of Switch RPGs I have. Argue amongst yourselves, what should I play? And it was a fun discussion. I had fun with everybody going in there, but it was almost
Oh, wait, I
unanimous.
missed
Everyone's
this.
like, get Dragon Quest.
Was this on the Discord?
Yeah. I was
I
like, you
missed
know what?
this somehow.
Yeah, I went over to the RPG section and was like, yay, these are the games I have. It was like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, um, Dragon Quest, and a couple other RPGs and some other things like that. And everyone came back like, yeah, no, just play Dragon Quest. It's great. So
I think I would say Dragon Quest probably my favorite of the things that you listed for sure.
nice. Yeah, I'll have to go back and find it for you. But
Oh, actually,
yeah,
because you encourage the plugging,
yes, go for it.
I'm gonna be a plug man.
Always.
Not to be confused with the Mega Man 9 plug man, which I'm trying to be topical to Jeremy's shirt here.
Yeah, not to
Which I
be
don't know if you
confused
can
with
see
Elect
it.
Man. I will stand up for this one for my.
Hell yeah! This is me modeling Jeremy. Yes, turn around. Yeah, work it. Oh yeah. Okay, there we go. All right.
If you're watching this in video, I apologize for doing that.
No, this is what happens when you encourage me. But speaking of Dragon Quest, I did a project a while back,
Mhm.
where I got 11 people to talk for about 2 to 5 minutes about what their favorite Dragon Quest game is. And my
Oh,
only rule
cool.
was I wanted to have an entry from each game.
Mhm.
So it starts off with Dragon Quest 1 and then 2, 3 with, believe it or not, there's somebody out there whose favorite Dragon Quest is 2, and I love that.
Hey, yeah.
Um
Everybody has good
and it
memories
was,
about something.
yeah, and I think Dragon Quest 2 is good. I don't think it's a bad game. But it's on, if you follow me on Twitter, or I'm sure Jeremy will update stuff with episode links, but there's it's a podcast episode. And it's about an hour or so long, of 11 entries from people across like Twitter, different communities, some content creators. It's a lot of fun. Please listen to it.
I love that idea. That's great. You gonna try that with any other series?
I'm doing with Final Fantasy as well, which is also remarkably difficult to find somebody whose favorite Final Fantasy is 2.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I love Final Fantasy
Sorry,
2, but it's
I'm
not
not
my
that guy.
favorite.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not that
I
guy.
I know, I know. I'm not fishing. But if there's anybody out there whose favorite Final Fantasy is Final Fantasy 2, please get at me at the Jump and Shoot Podcast at gmail.com.
I think I'd be somewhere between 10 and 12. I always really enjoyed
Ooh,
those.
I love 12. I
I
love
do as
12.
well. It felt like an MMO without dealing with people.
I love the freedom of 12. I think that's unmatched in a Final Fantasy game. 12's freedom.
Stupid T-Rex.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the hell with that thing. All right. So, you want to go ahead and get into some news? Eventually, I got to start getting like little musical interludes so I can click on them and see how it goes.
Yeah, my only thing about the news is that it may be difficult to pull me away from ranting about this whole global situation that we find ourselves in.
The beauty is, you are free to go ahead with your rants. We will gladly talk about that, and I will make statements in regards to myself and the show, because we're not a normal cast and we have people that come and go for different times. I will not speak for anyone else, but they are free to voice it themselves. But I will say, for the Russian people themselves in regards to the invasion of Ukraine, many of them have nothing to do with this and are
Mhm.
pushing against the jackass that is Putin, the giant Russian baby, who is having a hissy fit because he wants something and threatening people's lives over and basically just trying to destroy an entire country because they just want. And myself, in regards to the podcast, and myself as Jeremy Powers, um, am in support of the Ukraine people in their fight against Russia with a completely unprovoked and unnecessary attack on these people and the bullshit they've been, excuse my language for today, but bullshit that they've been doing, especially in regards to this crap recently of like, oh, we're going to let people leave and then we're going to, have a ceasefire and then attack anyways. Like this is getting ridiculous. It's been ridiculous. You want to rant? Go for it. Like, if you have some stuff to say, go ahead, Joey.
No, I mean, I don't really think I have anything interesting or anything new
Okay.
or particularly interesting to say about the subject.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 100% in agreement with you. Like
Okay.
it's a terrible situation, and
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, you can be like, okay, well, Ukraine isn't necessarily innocent in some of these things, that their leader has his own set of problems or whatever, but that doesn't excuse what is happening.
Right.
And situations like this, I don't think are ever viable reasons to start like a global, like, military engagement, basically.
Right.
It just it sucks, and I feel so bad for people in Ukraine right now, like just ordinary citizens, and and even like Russian citizens too, who like want nothing to do with like what their leader is doing. Like, think of like, and again, I'm speaking for myself. I'm not trying to speak for anybody else on this show, but like, think about during the Trump era, like
Yeah.
how awful I'm sure you also felt like saying that you were an American. And it's not like it's really improved much, but like there's a different, if Trump had started a war with Canada, right, and we were in a similar situation, we
Probably
would be
tried.
embarrassed. Yeah, probably try.
Oh
We'd
no, we
be
were embarrassed
embarrassed to be in that
regardless.
situation. Yeah, right. And so it's like, I don't know. Best thing you can
Hmm.
do in this situation though is just shut up and listen. Like listen to what Ukrainians are saying about
Hmm.
the situation, listen to what Russian citizens are saying about this situation, and try to support and help in any way that you can. I have friends out there too who are like, who live in Kiev, who are dealing with this on the daily, and it's like frightening, you know. So
Yeah.
I don't, again, like I said, I don't really have anything interesting to say, but I will say one thing, and it's, please stop relating these issues to like video games. And I see this corny stuff all over the internet, like, oh, this is just like that scene, the Russia Ukrainian thing is just like that scene in Xenoblade. Like, dude, are you so
Oh wow, I actually haven't
unbelievable?
seen that. I'm kind of glad I've missed it.
Oh, like, it's like you're so socially impotent that that's the only way you can relate to subjects, is by like adhering to your hobby or whatever. It's just like, it's so cringy, and I don't think it really adds anything to any discussion. It just like shows how unbelievably out of touch people are. So, like I said, don't comment on this stuff if you have no idea like what is going
Yeah.
on. If your only contribution is like relating it to a video game or an anime, maybe consider like just not. I don't know, just not. Just don't,
Yeah.
please.
Agreed. Yeah.
Please don't.
Yeah.
Because I know that if, like when all this stuff was happening with Syria, and my family lives out there, um, I it's I heard it like from people, like just people like, quote unquote, on the street, like having like brain dead ass opinions about something that they know literally nothing about, and like having a political opinion just to have a political opinion. And it's just, I know how frustrating it was for me in that moment, and I could only imagine what something like this is like for people who are have like actual understanding and investment in Eastern European politics. So
Yeah.
and
I
that's it.
mean, yeah.
That's all I
I know
got.
we're here. It's not the most important thing in the world. We're sitting here just talking about gaming news and in technology, movies, all that fun stuff. But it's not without an understanding of what's actually going on in the world.
Mhm.
I understand everybody has to have a little bit of escapism for that sometimes, but there are people that are not fortunate enough to have that are, having, as someone else I'd read it put it, sitting in a bunker or in a subway right now, wondering if their home is even still there and wondering if they're getting out.
Right.
So it's a very serious thing that's going on. But well, that got dark. So but we're gonna go ahead and
As
go
it
into
does.
the news. No, it needed to be said, I think.
Yeah,
Um, so thank you for also having your say in that as well.
and thanks for voicing the same opinion. So, hell
Well,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, sometimes things need to be said. So the world of gaming is taking action as best they can in regards to the unprovoked Russian invasion of Ukraine. Um, a bunch of different companies are doing different things. I just kind of bunched them together, and we can talk about this a little bit. Microsoft has pulled the sale of consoles, games, and services, including Xbox Live and all of that, from Russia. Nintendo has put their eShop into maintenance mode to stop all sales. Epic Games has closed down their store from accessing any purchases in Russia. Uh, Sony has pulled the release of Gran Turismo 7 at launch. They haven't really made any other statement about that, but I know that's still kind of a touchy subject for certain companies how they're doing it. I don't have an official word on if they've stopped console sales or anything yet. Um, but I'm not going to sit here and demonize it because we don't know what's going on with that and the situation
Mhm.
with it. It's just I don't have that information yet, so I'm not saying like, oh, they're not doing it. CD Projekt Red has pulled sales of their games. Amazon Games has halted Russian localizations even of games that they're working on, which was amazing because I didn't realize Amazon Games was still a thing in making games, let alone in Russian. Uh, I got to make jokes. Sorry.
No, yeah, I mean, same. Honestly, that's news to
It's like
me.
they're still a thing. Um, EA is working to remove Russian teams from NHL 22 and FIFA 22, which I thought was kind of surprising. Netflix has stopped Russian service. This one I mentioned not because it's gaming related, but the fact that this is also them kind of giving a finger to Russia in regards to the fact that to stay in operation, they were required to air and carry all the state media on their
Mhm.
service. And they were like, nah, we're not doing that. We'll just go ahead and shut down. Bye. And I'm like, okay, that's a good move. Good move. And then lastly, Twitch has stopped payments to all Russian streamers. They kind of knew this was coming because this in regards to um, like a lot of the lockdown they're having put on Russia financially by the rest of the world. I had the word of what that was, and my brain just completely froze up on what it's called. Dang it!
uh, well,
I'm trying
wait.
to think.
What's the word you're looking for?
Putting restrictions on on the country,
Oh,
uh,
embargoes.
not
I guess you could
embargoes,
say
but that's
that.
another word.
Yeah,
I completely just the word just
yeah.
left my
No, I'm
brain.
having
ADHD
that
people.
moment.
It'll come to me later. I'm just gonna blurt it out in the middle of the show.
That's fine. Yeah, feel free to interject whenever.
Right. Um. So yeah, a lot of different companies like Russia is losing. There's so many restrictions that are being put on them. Um. In regards to like Visa and Mastercard have pulled access to their Apple has pulled the sales and operations of their devices, Apple Pay, Google Pay, stuff like that as well. I mean, it's just basically trying to put them into the financial stone age at this
Mhm.
point to try and shut them out, and hopefully that will have an effect. Uh, Especially because they're lovely oligarchs, they're rich people funding this stuff are losing their money in their yachts and oh wow. Sorry, just assholes. Um,
Hell yeah.
so yeah. Moving on to something better. Nintendo Switch hits its 5th anniversary.
Mm.
It feels wrong that this is already 5 years old.
Yeah,
I mean, did you get a Switch on launch day?
I did. I actually waited in line at Target from like 3 or 4 a.m. until they opened, and I got
Mm-hmm.
really lucky because I actually got it, which did happen to me with the Wii. It took months for me to get a Wii, 2
Oh,
months, I think. But with the Switch, yeah, I got kind of lucky, but it was super hard, as you I'm sure remember. It was super hard to get. Um, and
oh yeah.
I got a Switch, a Pro controller, and Breath of the Wild and Bomberman on day one.
Oh, nice.
And I
Okay.
was not a big fan of how that Bomberman game played. They added an enormous patch to it like a couple months later,
Yes, they added so much stuff to it.
but it was too late, too little, too late, and I just didn't. I don't know. I had a lot of fun playing Bomberman live on
Hmm.
Xbox,
I remember that
like
one.
a lot, and Bomberman the '93 on the Wii on the Virtual Console, and all the old Bomberman games. You know,
I love me some
Bomberman one, two,
Bomberman.
three. You got the gritty reboot, which is it's fucking it is great. you know,
Fudging. Yeah, I heard that.
it's fucking
Uh,
fucking great. Yeah, right. Uh, but yeah,
I was a fan of
I
Bomberman
mostly just
64.
Bomberman 64, which
I will
hopefully
admit that.
comes to the Switch online service soon because that'd be
That
nice.
yeah, that would be great.
We are getting F-Zero X very soon, and that game is awesome.
Have they announced that's the next one?
I think is it? I think it's in like 2 days too.
Oh, sweet. Okay, I must have missed that. I didn't see because we didn't last time I checked, we didn't know which game was coming next. And I knew it wasn't going to be Kirby. There is no way they'd release Kirby 64 the
Yeah,
same month of a new Kirby. That's just eating its own.
yeah,
I'm down
yeah.
with
The
that Zero
Nintendo
though. That game's great.
Ouroboros just slowly just feasting on itself.
That's another name I was trying to remember from earlier. Thank you. That just popped up.
Here for you. Wait, did you get a Switch on launch day? Do you pick
I
up anything other
did.
than Zelda?
Um, I got Zelda, obviously. I got Bomberman as well. I got 1-2 Switch
Mm-hmm.
because that's just we actually had fun with that game. It's good as a
It's a
party
nice little
game.
tech demo.
It sucks if you're by yourself, but we always had game nights, so it kind of worked. Um, and then I got snipper clips. I bought that
Oh yeah, I
digitally,
remember that. I got that too.
and I remember the first night we got it. We were sitting at the house, and Amanda was hungry, and I was like, "Let's go to Waffle House." And I was like, "Oh, I can bring the Switch with me. Like, I can take it with
Yeah,
me, and we
yeah,
can
you got
go."
that. Yeah, yep.
So we went to Waffle House, and I set it up, and I'm sitting there playing Zelda and snipper clips, and everybody in the restaurant kept coming by and looking at it because it's the first one they'd ever seen. And
hmm
they were like, "What is this?" I'm like, sitting there playing
That's so
console games at
cool.
the table, and it was such a fun night. So, yeah,
And I know that technology is extremely rare in Florida. Like, like
like
indoor
science,
plumbing
and
and electricity, just crazy things that you don't see. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
we have alligators.
That's
Like,
true.
like
That's
somehow
true.
that's an answer.
That's very true. So my girlfriend grew up in the South, and I have never seen an alligator, like outside of a zoo. Um, and like she's
They're
like
nasty.
afraid of them, and because I don't know, because I never had that experience. I never was like, oh, if I stray like 2 feet off this path, I could run into a giant thing that could kill me. Um,
They're not
it's a
good for
fear I'll never
distance, but
understand.
they will sprint. Like they can
Yep.
move. I mean, you think about it, they're taking down like deer and other large animals to pull them underwater, beat them to death, and eat them. So yeah, they're not to mess with. Don't sit on them. Don't play with them, kids. Don't poke at them with a stick because they will poke back with every tooth they have, and you will lose a leg.
I don't know, man. I'm pretty good at wrestling. I'm low center of gravity. I got it. I got this.
Oh, Joey, this is how you're gonna die.
Like I don't fear nothing. To be fair, I think I mean, granted, I don't really have any reason to be afraid of alligators where I live, but uh, my dog just brought me. Sorry, my dog
If I
just
say your
brought me
dog's
this
bringing you
toy.
toys, that's great.
No,
Oh, his tail is a wagon.
yeah, I don't know what sparked this. I think I dunked on Florida, and she's like, yes.
You
Um,
deserve to be loved if you hate Florida.
but yeah, no alligators here, but bugs. So screw bugs. I'm more scared
Yeah,
of them than alligators.
fair enough. Um, do you still have your launch switch, or have you replaced it since
hmm
then?
Yeah. So I got another Switch for my girlfriend uh when Pokemon came out because we didn't
Hmm.
want to have to share.
Right.
And so I have the old one and she has the new one, and there's definitely a difference. Her battery lasts a lot longer than mine. Her I noticed that like she doesn't dip frames as much. That could just be anecdotal. I don't know. Um,
That's kind of a weird one.
I remember in Pokemon, her she definitely lagged less than me. I don't know if that just I don't know. I'm like again could be anecdotal. A million things there, but I unequivocally her battery does last longer than mine.
Yeah, they did get better battery life with some of the later ones.
Mhm, that's about the yeah. That's pretty much the only thing I could really say about the difference. But yeah, so I still have mine. I still play it. It's
Ours,
works.
my launch one still works. My Jennifer has it actually. So I got my Switch. Everybody shared it for a little bit. Then Amanda got a Switch because she wanted one. So of course I'm going to get her one. Then I got one for the kids, which was my Switch. I had gotten a new one, gave it to them, and all three of the kids shared that Switch. And then Jeremy got a Switch, John got a Switch, Jennifer got my old Switch, and everyone was done. Like we just kind of spread it out as we went along. So yeah, it still works though. Surprisingly, I was kind of worried the battery would die by now, but it's still kicking.
Yeah,
So
my old 3DS is really struggling, and so I had to get a new one. But I had the first XL model,
oh,
and
nice. I
so
still have
it
my
started.
launch day 3DS.
So I learned my lesson with the launch DS because the launch DS was gross, and I was like, I'm not going to buy a 3DS until they come out with a new model. So I luckily waited, but
I enjoyed it. All right. So you want to know what else we're going to be waiting on? That was a weird carryover, but I'm going to run with it. 343 Studios delays Halo Infinite co-op update for May
oh,
2022 date. So yeah, from the Halo Waypoint blog, they're quoted as saying the reality is that it's going to take more time to land a high quality, full featured 4-player network co op experience in the massive, wide open world of Halo Infinite. We're also committed to a great 2-player split screen co op experience on all Xbox consoles, from the original Xbox One through Xbox Series X. And the non linear, wide open sections of the campaign present some big challenges for split screen that have taken us more time to solve. All this means that we will not be able to ship Campaign Network Co op on May 3rd at the start of Season 2. But we are
mm,
still aiming to deliver Campaign Network Co op later in Season 2, and we will share a release date for that and for split screen co op as soon as we can. First off, I think this is the quote that has had more dashes in the words than I've ever had to type. Just like so many buzzwords of, 4-player, full featured, high
yeah, the
quality co
compound
op.
hyphenated words. Yeah, I feel that.
So many. Um, so yeah, it's I don't know if you're sneezing or laughing at me.
No, no. So when I threw that toy
Yeah.
earlier, I hit my girlfriend who was sleeping on the couch with it, and it was an eggnog toy that my dog has had for a while, and she just texted me to say, "You woke me up by hitting me in the face with a stinky eggnog."
Oh,
I'm sorry. I
only on this show,
usually
ladies and gentlemen.
I usually don't like check other things. I always just I try to stay as focused as possible. But I saw that and I was like,
That's
oh
so
no,
great. No, that's perfectly fine. That's awesome. That's wow.
I'm sorry. Oh god.
So back to the Halo multi.
Yeah, so I didn't know that so that's just network multiplayer, right? Like that doesn't
Well,
you can still play co-op, right?
it says we'll share a release date for that and for split screen co-op. So right now,
Oh, that
that's
doesn't exist. Oh, I didn't know
well
that.
they they launched. They knew it wasn't going to be on there. That's why it's kind of like you're running
Mm,
around and you can see where the hooks are in for co-op. Like you can, you've got the different warthogs and other vehicles that have multiple people that can fit in it. So like you can get in there on the gunner, but no one will drive. Like well, obviously you can do that in co-op and things like that.
mm,
So it'll happen. I was a little disappointed there wasn't at least local like split screen.
mm,
And this may be actually be the original Xbox One kind of holding this feature back some. But I think the Xbox One will get split screen or at least 2-player co-op, and then the series systems will get 4-player. which is great because I remember like Halo Reach and some of those. It was really fun to play 4-player co-op, like get everybody together and
Oh
do
yeah.
that. So I'm hoping this will work between PC and Xbox as well, because I've got friends that have it on PC and I have it on my consoles, and you can play together on multiplayer. So I'm hoping co-op will work the same, just to give more of a player base. So, but yeah, the other part of this story is Andrew Witz, lead multiplayer designer for Halo Infinite, has announced he's leaving 343 Studios. No
Mm,
announcement on where he's going. And the guys at Xbox are like, yeah, this happens. People transition to different jobs. That's life. It's just weird timing to be like, hey, we're having to delay this
yeah,
multiplayer.
that's
What this guy?
dubious.
Yeah, I don't think it's a major issue. It's just a little bit of a wait. Have you played any Halo Infinite at all?
No, I really want because I love Halo 1 through 3. Actually, 1 through 4. I absolutely loved Halo 4 despite the loadouts.
Thank you.
Um,
Everyone
I
complained
actually
about
think
that.
Halo 4 would be my absolute favorite if it weren't for loadouts. If it had on-map
No,
weapons exclusively, it would have hands down. Um,
really? All
but
right.
I'm a big Halo 2 boomer.
I
I
played so much Halo 2.
was very good at that game. Played a lot of it. It consumed my life for a large amount of time. Um, but I wasn't really a fan of 5, and I after even around when 4 came out, I was sort of like, I don't know, in between how much I cared about it.
Right.
But I really hate Infinite looked great. I just haven't pulled the trigger. I don't know why. I really don't know why. I don't have any reason or excuse or anything. It's
Well,
one of
if
those
you
things.
hopefully, whenever it comes out, we can do the co-op or something with it. Because I like the
Hell
fact
yeah, that
multiplayer is free. Like you can download multiplayer right now and play it, and we can
Yeah,
play
you know what? I
together.
have it. I downloaded it. I just haven't played it. So
Nice.
I'm too busy playing Elden Ring 17 times, man. I don't know what to tell
I
you.
still don't believe you played the thing. I feel so bad because I'm just like, I'm doing good. I played it part of one time, and you're like, yeah,
No, don't
I'm
no,
cycling through.
don't no. That's like that's a silly comparison because it's
I
like
know.
and plus I'm a try hard Souls player too. So it's like it's there's you're it's like just starting playing guitar or an instrument and being like, dude, whoa, you can like do sweet picking and stuff like that. Like, it's like it just comes with time. It's not even
Right.
something that's like
I'm just glad I
talent
can
or
say
skill, just time.
I'm glad I can at least say I'm having fun with it and wanting to go back and play it. Like as I'm editing
Mhm.
this later to post, I'm going to start laundry for the trip and come back in here and probably start playing some more Elden Ring. So
Hell yeah.
like that's a plus. Um, which I'm probably not going to go back to Halo until the co-op comes out because I'm huge on co-op. That's my next big thing. I finished the story and I enjoyed it. I felt like it ended kind of abruptly. Like I was seriously expecting more story to continue, and it's like, wait, those are the credits? What the hell? Like what?
Yeah,
No.
I was a little apprehensive about how they would do that stuff
Mm-hmm.
with like how the game is like almost sort of marketed as like a game as a service or whatever. Um,
Yeah, I think that's the multiplayer
but
side of it more though. The single
yeah,
player still feels like it's doing really good. It's just the fact that they had to, because I ended up just buying it digitally for mine. I'll get a disc version later when co-op starts, so my kids can put it in the other Xbox and we can play together.
mhm.
Um, but at least like as they're doing the enhancements, it is running better and playing really well. So
Do you play the co-op with your kids in
yes,
Halo?
yeah, we
Nice.
go back and we played through a good bit of them, especially the Halo Master Chief Collection, because that's been a good one to go back and play the first 4 games through and Reach, or the first 3 and Reach. 4 was a different one. So all right, so we have talked all kinds of crap about Florida and its stupid laws, stupid laws. But Georgia is about to do something stupid. Georgia man is arrested for taking out a COVID-19 loan and using most of that to buy a Pokemon card. Just wow. I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing this guy's name right, but Vanaf Odemsine? Odemson? I don't know. That sounds like a Pokemon. 31-year-old fraudulently claimed to be a small business to get an $85,000 economic injury disaster loan during the COVID-19 crisis. Then proceeded to spend most of this on a single Pokemon card, a first edition shadowless holographic Charizard for $57,789. That's a lot
Okay,
for a card.
okay, yeah, you know what though? I'm reading this and it's kind of stupid. And
Kinda.
yeah, I mean, in multiple ways. I mean, obviously, you look at something like this and you're like, that what a stupid thing to do. But then I don't know, I'm starting to think about it. So, okay, think of it this way. Um, one of the things that you can do to get economic relief is, you know, if you work what is considered gig economy,
Uh-huh.
right? And that's a really nebulous, ambiguous term.
Yes, very much
So,
so.
is buying something to flip it and selling money, how is that different? In a way? And okay, obviously there's a difference, right? But when a system exists to work in this way and can be, you can't fault somebody for taking advantage of a broken system necessarily. So, get 3 years in prison for this? What did he do? Did he have a prior record? That's insane. That is so stupid. Think about how many tax dollars go to work on putting this guy in prison for 3 years because he took out a loan that, by the way, was just not audited correctly. Because there's no way you would get an $85,000 loan to take out a business and not get audited in some way and then sell it on a Pokemon. Like, somebody messed up that wasn't just him, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I
And
mean, people are saying like, "Oh, what should have been audited," but that's kind of what this was doing. They're going back and looking at the records as they were trying to go through it, and he got caught. He even admitted, he pleaded guilty to this, that he lied about it, saying he was a business and filling out the paperwork to be what he wasn't.
yeah.
And they did that loan on good faith. Went back, and as they were going back and auditing it, that's where they discovered that.
Hmm.
I mean, he's still that's a lot of money to take. But yeah, he's getting 3 years in
Yeah.
prison, 3 years of supervised release, and a $10,000 fine on top of paying the money back. I get that's still a lot, but like if you manage to get a hold of $85,000, why do you spend 57,000 of it on a card? Like,
Yeah, I mean, the sad part is though, man, is that you buy a $57,000 card and you flip it for 90K,
mm-hmm.
like, which is probably possible. You know,
Really?
is that really any different than, like, starting a small business and exploiting your workers and paying people minimum wage? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I think what it comes down to is just like saying that you're starting and let's just say you wanted to start like a coffee shop or something and
Right.
lying about that and then doing, okay, so then that's a different dynamic. But yeah, I'm not saying this guy shouldn't eat poopy for what he did, but I'm just saying this there's a lot of questionable things here.
There's
Um
probably more to it than we have on this right now, but
yeah, 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 yeah.
it's
So
also because he's dealing with a lot of this. It's at a federal level. There's probably other stuff that's going to be attached to that as well. uh, I have to go back and look and see exactly what the case would involve for what federal crimes it would be considered, and going from there. And then you're dealing with larger sentences at that point.
mhm.
I think this guy just wandered into a whole bunch of stuff that he probably should have realized he shouldn't have been doing, and is now, yeah, over a Pokemon card is just ridiculous. Just wow.
It probably wouldn't have happened to a white guy. Probably wouldn't have got 3 years. Just saying.
I don't know what this guy looks like, to be absolutely honest with you.
He's not.
Oh, he's not?
No, he's not. But just saying it. Well, I mean, I'm guessing based off that name, but I'm just saying. Just uh What a weird thing. I know about the story because I talked to my dad today and he asked me, he's like, "You got any Pokemon cards?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And he's like, "You know that they're worth like a ton of money." I was like, "Certain ones are, sure. My like 7 Oddishes are not
Right.
worth anything." Um, so I found out about the story from him.
Okay. Yeah,
So thanks, Dad.
he actually it's part of its wire fraud.
Okay, well that's a little different. I
Yeah, he
got
was
that
sentenced to
worry.
36 months in prison after pleading guilty to one count of wire fraud. Um, as they went through, let's see, the quote from the thing: Congress appropriated funding to assist small business struggling through the challenges of a global pandemic. Said U.S. Attorney Estes, like moths to the flame, fraudsters like Odom took advantage of the programs to line their own pockets, and with our law enforcement partners, we were holding them and others accountable for their greed. Probably should have just looked better before they just gave this stuff out because there was a lot of people that did take advantage of that, sadly.
Yeah.
And I know they're finally going back and clearing a lot of that out now, but like the damage is done, and the people that it could have helped didn't get it that could have actually used
Yep.
it at the time.
That is another aspect to
Yeah,
it that really sucks.
yeah,
Probably the thing that sucks the most.
yeah. Who could have actually used this instead of him buying a card? Uh,
Mhm.
so he claimed to have 10 employees and gross revenues of $235,000 in the 12 months preceding the pandemic. Filled out the whole application, went through it. So yeah, he pulled some federal level stuff. That's why he's getting the 3 year hit on that.
Rip,
Yeah. Mm.
rip.
All right. So last little bit of weird news. I just wanted to talk about this because I thought it was kind of funny, but Microsoft has only managed to sell 2.4 million systems in Japan over the last 4 generations, not years, generations. The original Xbox sold 472,992 systems. Xbox 360 was their highest selling, was 1,616,128. The Xbox One was their lowest at
Wow.
114,831. Doesn't help when you sell a giant VCR. Uh, and the Xbox Series X and S so far, I don't know how they got this accurate of a number, but is 142,024. Because that's still ongoing and selling and stuff. But Microsoft has tried over a decade now to try and get the Xbox over in Japan, and that's a whole discussion I would like if we get more people on the show, all of us together to actually talk about.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a good like big roundtable discussion for sure.
yeah, it was actually going to be mine today, but it was just you and I, which is still fun. But
Just you and I.
yeah, just us. It's a private date on a podcast. Mhm.
Hell yeah.
Mhm.
For everyone to watch and listen to.
But yeah, it's still interesting though, like because if you think about all that Microsoft has pushed for the Xbox in Japan, all the exclusive games, features, all that stuff for just
Shin
this
Megami
small
Tensei
market.
9.
Yeah.
The one game that people wanted to buy an X. Actually, funny enough, there are a lot of Japan exclusive RPGs or just games on Xbox One or the original Xbox.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, not many, but a lot more than I think people realize.
Well, I think 360 they had a big push with that as well, trying to make
Hmm.
deals, and that's why it's the highest one. But I mean, they didn't even break 2 million.
Yeah, it's still low. It's still very low.
Yeah, and I would like to eventually get into discussion of why we think that is, or what other sources kind of broke with that. And I want to go back and look because Microsoft did their whole 20th anniversary of Xbox celebration recently, and I think they talk about their troubles with selling in Japan. I need to go back and look at that because they were very candid about a lot of things that they did,
Hmm.
what worked, what didn't work, and all that, including down to the point of them being laughed out of trying to buy Nintendo when they first started. Like they had them come all the way to Japan just to laugh them out of the room. I was like, that's just bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
I feel like 142,000 is still kind of low.
it
Um,
is,
from what I've noticed, it was doing a lot better in Japan than they thought.
especially the Series
The
S.
series, yeah. But maybe I don't know if that's just relative to the numbers to the Xbox One, or if that is just maybe it's like an inaccurate number. I don't know, but Yeah, it's kind of it's a bummer, I guess, but it's a lot of it's cultural sensibilities, a
Hmm.
lot of it is just logistics, brand recognition in what brands are seen as in Japan. And I think it's just, you know, consumer base, player base is a big plays into it really big. Um I think 360 offered a lot of titles that were exclusive to the console, that may not have been as accessible to Japanese players. And I think that obviously you see that did the most. And for a while, 360 was killing it. It was destroying everything and just like leaving only debris in its wake. And yeah, no, it's a bummer, but I think it's part of micro. You just one of those things that Microsoft has to deal with.
Yeah, they're trying again and kind of pushing for that. I'm kind of hoping they can get that going, but they've also been pushing more where if like okay, you don't have Xbox hardware but you have a PC, you're still in that environment, you're still playing with those people, you're still getting the games, and that might be their kind of way in because Windows is still the big operating system over there. So if they get
Hmm.
people that are all more of them playing on PC, they technically still have them playing on the Xbox environment. They're still going to show up on live and everything for that. So that might be their Trojan horse to finally get past that.
I find a bit of an irony in Xbox doing so poorly in Japan, but Sony's studios becoming more and more Western or Western influenced or whatever. But
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's all about brand recognition. Sony is seen much more as like a software developer or just like a company who offers software that a lot more Japanese consumers want or are familiar with. So it's interesting. We'll have to see what happens in the next couple of years, and I think Microsoft has been making strides to be more accessible to other global markets,
Hmm.
and
They,
it's always good to see that, like, more, especially Microsoft's whole sensibilities toward Xbox have changed considerably over the last 10 years. Their
oh
whole
yeah,
approach. So
yeah,
I think
especially since
maybe
Phil
it'll.
took over.
Mhm.
So
Uh, and like the whole Game Pass service, I think works really well for like what a lot of Japanese gamers or consumers are more privy to. But I think that it just hard physical media that's not mobile in Japan is hard to sell it. Basically.
yeah, so I think like the Series S, I think does a little bit better over there probably because of that. And the console itself, like even a
Mhm.
Series X, people would talk about the size of it, isn't really as big as everyone kind of expected it to be. It's smaller in a lot of the dimensions that a PS5 is, but yeah, kind of have home field advantage on that one.
Yeah,
All
for real.
right. All right, so we'll go ahead and finish up now. We'll talk about our roundtable for this week. And what I had is basically Elden Ring recently launched, and I've finally had one of these soul style games click with me. Um, so I want to know, like, what do we think of the game itself? What has your reaction to it been? Obviously, um, what do you think is different that is allowing more people to enjoy this title without the brutal difficulty spikes that stop many from enjoying the predecessors? Um, and I know part of that is kind of coming from my view as well. There's a lot of people that just enjoy the Souls games with no issues whatsoever, and I get that. And then there's people like me that will run into some of the frustrations or some of the difficulty spikes, and including even some of the fan base. Like not all of it. Not trying to say all Souls fans are horrible, but you've seen them where it's like if you have any
Oh
problems
yeah.
and you try and talk to somebody, their immediate reaction is just, "Oh, get good," or "You're doing this wrong," or you're not playing it right." Blah blah blah. So I'll start with you on this one. Like, what has your view on Elden Ring been since you got it? Obviously, you've beat it a few times, so hopefully
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, no, it's really good. It's one of the most engrossing, addictive, just it's a very all-encompassing game in a lot of ways, and I think that its ability to infiltrate your mind and stay in there in a very meaningful way is speaks to the quality of the game, and I think that it's being more accessible across the board. I mean, you're saying that this is the first game that Souls game that clicked with you,
Mhm.
and I'm including Sekiro in this. So screw you if anyone who disagrees. But just for the sake of convenience, Sekiro is included in like Souls games. I
Yeah,
get the argument, but it's
I
pretty much the
consider it part of it. The only reason
same.
I never listed is because it's the only one I haven't actually had a chance to try yet.
There you go.
So that's
Um,
why I don't list it. But otherwise, yeah,
that being
it's one.
said, I can't see. No offense, I just can't see Sekiro being the one for you. Like prior to Elden Ring, I
I kind
like.
of felt that when I saw it too.
Mm, and it's that's nothing against you. Just like I could be
Oh no,
wrong. That's just sort of what I read from it because I don't think Sekiro does that much different to like engage people who aren't into the Souls games, apart from the
hmm
um, aesthetic and the vibe of the story.
right,
But other than that, I don't know. But yeah, no, Elden Ring is really good. I think it's definitely made a push to be more mainstream while retaining like a core FromSoft ethos, right?
right,
Um, that being said, people still find people are still going to find reasons to complain about this game, and I agree that the FromSoft fan discourse is awful, and that's why I don't engage with that community despite loving these games and being very try hard at them. Like I used to stream Dark Souls, like all like challenge runs, so level 1, no damage bosses, stuff like that.
right.
And so like I'm like sort of in a way part of that. I mean, I never really like joined forums or discords or whatever about it, but in a way I'm like by proxy part of that community. But that being said, it's like insufferable. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't disagree with the fact that like if people are finding frustrations in the game, they're doing something wrong. That's not I don't think that that's inaccurate. Um there's there are some things in those games that are and Elden Ring is not
hmm
excluded from this conversation. But there are certain things in these games that are definitely like you think they're bullshit, and sometimes sure, yeah, maybe there's a couple things here and there. But as a whole, a big problem is people don't engage with a game's combat more often than not. If you were to look at an average of like how players interact with the game, and I don't know what metric you'd use to balance this or to gauge it.
Right,
Um, but people, you don't see repetition compulsion quite like you do in video games. People, doing the same thing, expecting different results. Um, like running into like getting stuck in a boss and being like, I'm just going to keep doing the same thing over again, and maybe something will happen that's different.
right,
Um, and I don't think that Souls games are necessarily super hard. I think that they're definitely like above average difficulty for sure. Um, but I think a lot of the things that make them harder are sort of toned or scaled back with Elden Ring. So, for example, dying on a boss, right?
hmm
Which is the big thing. So you have
yeah,
options now. I mean, you always did, but now you have even more that are more easily accessible. You can summon your spirit ashes. You could summon people or slash co-op.
hmm
Um, you have the Moonveil katana, stuff
haven't
like
got
that
that
are
yet.
just like really busted or like just make the game a lot easier. And again, using those things doesn't mean that you're not really beating it or whatever.
Might
That's
have to
not
tell me
true.
where
That's
this
BS.
katana is later.
Yeah, no, I got you. Um, but like at the same time, it gives you these options in a more streamlined way to deal with stuff,
Right,
and that's good, I think, because it makes the sort of invisible difficulty slider of Dark Souls more apparent. But my problem with Elden Ring is to balance that. What FromSoft did was they started taking stuff and just like kind of throwing it in the pot, right? Like,
hmm
um, so for my best example of this is iterative bosses. So you start off and you fight a boss in a dungeon or a catacomb or whatever, and then it's like, okay, that was a challenge, whatever, and then later you fight a slightly stronger version, and then later you fight two of them at the same time, and then sometimes there's three, and then sometimes it's a super version with all the attacks and a ton
Good
of life.
God.
And the game does give you progressive ways to deal with it. Your stats increase way more exponentially than they did before, and there are many reasons for this. But like you have the options to summon, you have the broken stuff. The fact that there's an open world in this game that you could traverse and do whatever, pretty much do not whatever, but you have so many options is the real difficulty slider, right?
Yeah.
You get stuck on something, go grind and find a better weapon or more
I,
upgrade materials.
I honestly feel that's probably one of the biggest reasons I'm enjoying this one is because of the open
Mhm.
world, which I'll get to in a moment.
Yeah, and that's awesome. I think that that gives a lot of depth to the gameplay. I even for somebody who does things try hard, I think it adds a lot of depth to the gameplay. Um, but I think what you see from people a lot is you give somebody an inch and they want everything. They want on map pointers. They want quest trackers and blah blah blah. And I get it. I totally get it. In a game like Horizon, not having those things would be a completely different dynamic than a game like this, where that quest design is implicitly designed or explicitly designed to be like that, to be
Right.
obtuse and confusing. And granted, yeah, you can just Google it, right? I had
Yeah.
a shboopy amount of tabs open to make sure I was doing a certain quest right. Um,
That's one of the bigger things that I've been kind of doing that people have advised, like, hey, don't be afraid to use Google. Like that's part of that community talk is what helps
mhm.
with it. So I've been doing that to find out more stuff sometimes, which has been nice.
Yeah, I'm very much a proponent of go into games blind and experience them for yourself. But if you're getting frustrated with something and you think that it would help for you to look something up, do it. I don't, like I feel like people should do whatever gives them the best experience in that sense. Um, that being said, I think people want things to be free, right?
Right.
They want to go run at the boss and hit R1 and spam R1 and beat it. Maybe roll once and that's it. Um, and that's fine, but that's not what the game is trying to do. If the game was trying to do that, it'd be different. And the game wants you to succeed. There's corpse runs in Elden Ring for sure. But for most of the main critical path bosses, you spawn right there.
Yeah.
Even most of the bosses that are challenging, that happens. Um, stuff like that. Losing your runes isn't that big of a deal. You have options to deal with that. Like, there's a lot of reasons why this game is accessible. My issue is just people wanting it to be like every other generic AAA open world experience because it is a style that is in that vein. The Witcher, Horizon, um, Spider-Man kinda has a
I
lot of the
hear a
same
lot of
thing.
I hear a lot of people trying to compare it to Breath of the Wild, which
Breath of the
I
Wi-
don't see. I
I
don't.
yeah, I don't see that either. I guess like some of the dungeons and stuff, the way you discover things is similar to Breath of the Wild, but even Breath of the Wild is a lot more guided with where things are,
Well, it's
than
it's
Elden.
guided for part of that, but it's also like you see a wall, you can work your way up it, you can do all this stuff. Like it's more exploratory, it's more system based. Like, oh, okay, well, I need to do this. I'm going to set this grass on fire. Use the glider to use that updraft to pop up. Pull a bow and arrow. Do like you can play with the physics and things. Like I'm not saying that's better or worse, but Breath of the Wild is such a different open world experience to what Elden Ring is. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
neither of them are better than the other, but they're not. I don't think they're really comparable. It's just okay, it's an open world. Well, that's like saying Twisted Metal and Gran Turismo are both technically racing games, so that's the same.
Right.
They have
Yeah, no,
cars.
I don't get that comparison either. I think that a lot of times that sort of is synonymous with quality. It's like Breath of the Wild because it's a quality open world.
I could see that.
Um, and I think that, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a FromSoft fan, but I think Elden Ring does open world stuff better than most games in the style, if not every game that I've really been into. That doesn't
Okay.
mean it does everything that well, but the big thing that it has going for it is because the game is, designed to be challenging to
Hmm.
some extent, apart from just generic like video game ad, uh, adversity, like just a
Yeah.
typical like, oh, I have a thing I need to do, like a checklist. It's a little bit above that, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Um, but it's a little bit above that. So the RPG elements go so much further. Building your character, getting new stats, finding new weapons, finding, oh, this boss is really hard, but if I just use this magic spell, it's like a JRPG in that sense, right? Like
Right.
people always say JRPGs are grindy, blah blah blah, and I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't examples because I could think of at least a handful, but for the most part, the reason why people think they're grindy is because they're not engaging with the combat systems and they're not like taking advantage of what they have, so
They're
they're
trying to brute
expecting to just do
force.
the same. Right, right. And
Yeah.
brute force or just like use something that worked in one fight and trying to apply that to all fights. And
I've been guilty of that.
Elden Ring actually lets you do that, though. You
Oh,
can pretty much do that. Like you
okay.
get stuck on a boss, just go there later, and it's designed purposely to do that. I mean, yeah, there are critical path bosses that are a little harder, sure. But even if you get stuck on those, just go out and explore a bunch more ruins, get some items, level up, fight some werewolves that give you more XP or runes, whatever. Um, consumables, right?
Yeah.
And I get that people don't always want to do that. But then why are you playing an open world game?
Yeah. Half the fun is the exploration.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly. And I think Elden Ring gives you a lot to explore, and just like, when you go into a catacomb for the first time and it's spooky, right?
yeah, I wandered into an underground catacomb that was full of ants, like these
Oh
just
god.
giant, nasty ants. After
Mhm.
sneaking my way in past this giant, like iron giant fire looking big old thing with an axe standing out in the front door, I like quietly snuck behind it to get inside there. And I think that was a little bit different one, but like just all these different things I found, just messed up. I'm just kind of wandering off on that thought. I don't know. The Elden Ring for me, I think part of what I've enjoyed, why it's clicked with me more than the other ones. Like the most recent one I played beyond this one was Demon Souls on PS5. I got that at launch. Oh, it looked great, but it's still. I know it's based on a PS3 title, but I think I found a lot of the other Dark Souls games and design like this kind of similar, where you're on very set paths. Like I
Yeah.
get you have options where you can go, but you're like you get to a point you can't really get past this unless you get through this
Right, yeah, yeah. There
issue
are
and
hard blocks, like Metroidvania-esque blocks, yeah.
right. And they do get to the point of they would get frustrating. Like I'm trying to play them and do stuff, and I'm not the best at these. So I have difficulty with them to a point. I would get killed over and over again, and that just kind of kills the enjoyment for me. And then if I start losing enjoyment in something, I have so many other options. I wander off and start doing that. One of the biggest things I've really loved about Elden Ring, making this an open world, is that it does have all those alternative paths. If I get somewhere and I'm like, oh, wow, I just got stomped. I am not ready for this. I'm just going to look over. I'm going to go that way. What's this way? And I'll
Mhm.
just wander off. And I take, instead of being frustrated, I just focus on something new and work around. And I like the fact that I can go on the map. I'm glad they at least had this ability and go, hey, I'm just going to drop a pin here. I'll get back to this later.
Mhm.
Hey, here's a cave. Yep, not dealing with that right now. Let's put a pin in it. We'll come
Yes.
back to it later. You
Yes, and I
know,
love that, and it
and
gives
so
you
do I.
different like a huge, variety or spectrum of different player experiences because you have people like me who have okay, so let me give you an example of what happened. Um, as soon as I got the horse, I'm running around. My big thing is like I always want to get as many fast travel points as I can. Like I was running around the map just hitting all the grace points and that was it.
Yes.
Um, found a couple things. I found like a couple dungeons, and then I found a giant dragon in the field, the Elgil dragon in Limgrave.
Oh
And I'm
yeah,
like, I'm
found
fighting
that.
this because I want this to die. And it's like you're clearly supposed to be like, I don't know, like around level 30 or so before
Oh
you
my
do it.
god.
And I'm like, nope, I'm gonna do this because I have the horse and the horse is overpowered. And so I killed it and
Oh
I got a
wow.
buttload of runes from it. And then which this is my fault because in Souls games, there's a lot of trapped chests. So what you want to do uh is in Souls games is hit a chest every before you open it because it could be a mimic. And then as soon as you
Really?
open it, yeah, not in Elden Ring. I don't think there really are any. mimics. There's like one, but either way,
I
um
never thought about that.
every time you open a chest, roll away from it because sometimes traps are there, which are again not many in Elden Ring, but there is one. So after
I,
the dragon,
yeah.
I opened this chest and I like kind of looked at my phone and then like I was like while the animation is playing because I min
Uh-huh.
max time because I'm a sick person, but I like looked at my phone and then I looked up and I was like, why is my character asleep? Because the chest opened a trap,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden now I'm in a place that's like literally triple my level. I'm doing no damage to the enemies. Like it was rough, and I'm trapped here.
Is this the Crystal Cave?
Yes, yes.
I went to that too.
So I think you can run away, but I
You
was like,
can.
I ran to a boss, and I was like, it was one shotting me with every single attack, every single attack. I couldn't survive anything, and I was like, nah, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. We're gonna sit here and we're gonna fight this thing because I can't let it win. So I killed it after like I got an unfathomably stupid amount of time trying to bash my head against it. Which by the way, that's my fault. I put myself in that situation. I
I'm
could
not
have
gonna
ran
lie.
away.
I looked up. I was like, okay, I heard about this. I went and looked it up, and they said if you had fast travel, you can get out of that. But I didn't realize when you get to the cave, you can't fast travel till you leave
Yeah,
it.
yeah, you have to like
Um,
find the grace point and then
right,
yeah.
which is not really that difficult. It just if you go down and run, you'll run to it instead of going up. That's the only thing I
Mhm.
read. It said go down, not up. And I was like, okay, I don't feel I'm ready for this yet. I'm going to go down,
Right.
get to the grace point, continued on, and I'm ready to. I'm probably actually feeling like I might go back tonight to see if I can do some more damage in that crystal cave now.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
not much well, the cave is actually nice and it's implicitly designed like this because
Hmm.
in the cave there are upgrade items for your weapon that are much better than the starting. I think you can find like level 2 to 4 smithing stones in there or something like that.
Uh huh.
Um so it's designed to be where if you try hard and get sweaty, you'll get stuff in this area that will like put you above where you are. It's like triple triad in FF8. If this
Okay.
comparison makes sense, you could sit there and you could grind this and then become super broken for the critical path or whatever it is that you're doing, or not even grind, but just like try hard and beat the boss and then whatever. And maybe it's faster to go out and just grind regularly, sure, but there's that catharsis of that. Um, and I got a bunch of upgrade items from that boss, and now my weapon's busted, right? Like I got my butt kicked for like 40 minutes so I could destroy the game for the next few hours, basically.
Right.
And I absolutely love that, dude, because I think that is like, I mean, we could talk a lot about like the freedom of that game and how much of it is actually limited and how much of it is actually free or whatever.
Right.
Um, Not to go like philosophy 101, like are you actually free? But there are
You're
some
trapped
arguments
in
there.
your house when you're playing this world.
Right. Right. Um,
You travel, you go
but
nowhere.
yeah, and but that being said, I love how player experiences in this game more so than any other open world game have been extremely varied, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's always going to be a fast track. Like, oh, I want to be a magic build, so I have to go here for this sword and then this here for this spell. And
Right.
sure. But like if you play the game just like as is, everyone's going to have a vastly different experience. And I think that that's awesome. And I think that that gives a lot of newer players a lot of insight and I guess engagement to what the series can do. Um, but I also think that people go into this sort of like not really understanding that just because it does that doesn't mean it's baby mode. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's not free. I mean, sure, some things are. I can tell you a bunch of stuff that'll make that game free for you, but like it's still not at the end of the day like a given, a
So,
charity.
for me, with my history of playing these games, when I started off playing this, I picked it up on a fluke because I was like, all right, I'll give this another try. Like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'll go ahead and do it. And I picked it up on launch day on a whim. And my oldest son, Jeremy, is a huge Dark Souls fan. He enjoys playing those. He has a lot of fun with them. And I'm glad. I want him to be able to enjoy the games he likes. So that night, I was playing around with it, messing with it. He actually came in here and sat with me while we played and was
I
kind
saw
of,
his tweet. Yeah, I
yeah,
saw
and he
this.
was
Yeah.
kind of telling me about some of the stuff we were talking. And I was like, okay, like this is nice. Like I'm getting some assistance with it. I'm not afraid to get help looking at these things and figuring it out. Not everybody can play every type of game off the top of their heads. If they can, they're lying to you. There's something they don't know how to handle. You know,
Yeah.
I've seen people that are like, oh yeah, I can go through Dark Souls just fine. I don't understand Tetris. Like, like it, you just
It's
don't
like
know.
people
It's a
have
puzzle.
different experiences. Yeah,
Right.
like it's just a different, a lot of the bosses I find hard in Dark Souls are ones that a lot of people find easy and vice versa. Uh that happens. It's normal. Who
Yeah.
cares,
Well, I think some of the way, and they may have had similar systems in older games, but it never really presented it in a clear way to me, which I think is the
Mhm.
biggest thing. Even if some of this stuff already existed, how they presented it is drastically different now in a way that I am finding more comfortable and enjoyable. While the game is still having a challenge, I'm not saying this is easy. Like I'll walk through and I get my butt kicked, but I don't feel like it's such a forced and cheap death every time. I'm not frustrated. I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, maybe if I dodge a little bit more here, or maybe if I go here, like I've got a certain area that I'm going into. I think I've been into it like 6 or 7 times trying this little group fight that happens. And I'm like, oh, I'm getting a little better. Like I'm right there.
Mhm.
But the best thing I like about it, if you die, getting your runes back is not difficult. You can even run by on
Mhm.
horseback and grab them if you think like, oh man, that was tough. I'm gonna wait on that. Let me just shoot through, grab it with my horse, and run away. And I've done that multiple times. I'm not afraid to say.
Mhm.
Um, but I
Yeah.
like that there's more grace points that they have around the map, so I feel like I can explore and jump between those spots, and I'm not horribly punished. Like, okay, I died, but I'm still in this general area. I'll go do this, and I like that it tells me, I'll try and level up when I can, and then if I'm low, like right after I level up, is when I feel like I'm more willing to go try something risky, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. Because even if I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
get
yeah.
back to it, I can't lose anything. So let's have some fun with it. Let's go do something dumb. And I finally get enjoyment out of that. I'm like, hey, there's that big thing. I'm gonna go poke it and see what happens. And I usually die.
And
But
that's the gameplay loop.
yeah.
I think that that's really strong, and I think, like, what you were just saying, like, that whole experience is that you get wrecked, and then you learn a little bit and get a little bit better each time.
Mhm.
That's always what a lot of these games have been all about, right? That
Right.
catharsis, that that experience just layered on top of each other, and I think that this game especially makes that experience clearer and gives you can see actual progress through numbers and items and stuff more so than most other Souls games, where it was more
Yeah.
pragmatic for the player. And then this game actually rewards you for stuff more so.
Yeah. Like
Um, so yeah.
one of the things I also did, and I'm not ashamed to say, is like when I was looking into it, I was like, okay, I'm having fun with this. I'm playing it with Jeremy on occasion, so I want to continue. I want to push more into this. So I'd look up like some of the starter guides that people had made, like, hey, here's what we did to start off, and I was like, you know what,
Mhm.
I like this. I'll go ahead and do this to get this few things, so I can. All right, now my sword's a little bit more powerful, so I feel like I can do some more damage. I've got some more potions that I can use, so I can do that. And it actually kind of helped me figure out more of how the mechanics work for part of that as well. So it benefited it. So I may not do that same run next time I make another character, but at least I'm like, hey, I'm starting off and this is helping me with it. And I'm enjoying conversations with people playing Elden Ring more than I have for a lot of people playing the previous titles. And like I
Mhm.
said, I don't mean that as the whole group is horrible for a lot of this stuff, because you get a lot of them that, if you're not playing well enough, I'll get good and all that crap. But it seems almost like more people are being more friendly playing this.
Yeah, I think
Like,
that's true, and I think that goes with the game's design too. Just
yeah.
like how it's curated. I think it was definitely implicit in there. I mean, the director Miyazaki himself even said, like, this game is explicitly designed for if you get stuck on something, go to something else, and I feel like that's going to help
That,
new players.
and I've always wondered, like, so, I know I bring this up all the time. People are getting tired of me talking about, it, but the whole ADHD stuff, the way I've kind of understood, and talking to people and doctors, how that works, where if I do get frustrated with something, my brain will lose enjoyment for it, and I just kind of lose interest and move on to something else. And that happens. That's, I've talked with you guys about it, about my trouble with RPGs and things, and that's what I'm hoping with Dragon Quest. I can get into that and kind of find a way to, well, I can talk with you guys and use it as a crutch to keep pushing me to do it. I'm getting enjoyment out of that conversation. Maybe I can get through this and do that with more RPGs. And that's kind of what happened with this one. Now that as soon as I hit a frustration, I just wander off somewhere else. And good God, I know some of the character designs in previous games have been weird, but I'm really getting a better taste of it now. But as a Florida person, nothing prepared me for seeing a freaking crawfish the size of a bus.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
saw that and I'm like, this can't.
Dude, it's
I
funny.
called John in here and I'm like, look at this.
It's funny because there's been a point of contention about whether or not that's a crawfish or a crayfish or a lobster. And I think it's a crawfish because, and
It's
let me
fresh
tell you
water.
why. There's an area called the Prawn Shack or the Prawn Hut or something like that.
Yeah.
Which to me confirms the
Right.
crayfish. So that's my theory. But you know what? It's open to interpretation.
It's open to me eventually getting the nerve up to go kill one. Right now, I'm
Right.
just running away from them. Like, I don't know if I want to try and be killed by something I eat on a regular basis. Just feels like revenge. It's like a nightmare come to life. Didn't I have you guys for lunch the other day?
Well, cows will kill us eventually with their expulsion of methane gas, so
Oh
it's
yeah.
only fair. So eat your beef, folks.
Right. So I don't know. A lot of the design choices they made for this, I've really enjoyed. Like I said, I'm not wanting the map to be all super complicated. I'm not. I haven't even really thought about the fact I don't have a way to track missions. If it catches my interest, I'll put a little note on there and go on from there. And I kind of rediscover stuff that way. Like I'll forget about it later instead of having to wonder where it was. It's like a whole new discovery when I find it again and continue on. Um, like last night I had a whole experience with this where you throwing stuff again.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine. I find it funny. Um, there was a little cave by the sea or by one of the areas that I got to that gives you a warning, like you can't go into it because there's no light. Like it gets super dark, you can't see anything.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
found it
yeah.
early on. Have you been all the way through that cave yet?
Yeah, is that the cave by this? It's called Seaside Cave, literally.
Yes. And
Mhm.
I happened to get a lantern later on. I'd read about the
Nice.
lantern, but I just happened to pick one up. I was like, oh yeah, I have that. I'm going to go do that now. Like just randomly, I'm like, I'm just going to go check it out because like I'm in an
Mhm.
area that I'm not sure I can take this stuff on yet, but I know I want to explore that. So I go back, I start wandering through and like, okay, I've kind of overpowered for some of this because I'm like tearing through the people inside of it. But then I get to the little boss fight that's in there where there's two of the chieftain big creatures that are inside that attack me at once. And it finally, instead of me panicking and trying to figure out what's going on, I caught myself like, okay, dodging this to roll. Okay, my timing for this to take a potion. I
Mhm.
never called my wolves because I tried and they hit me, but I tried. But I was like, okay, instead of panicking though, I managed to kill both of them. And I love the little touch that after you kill them, all their underlings panic and will not
Yeah, they did
attack
like
you,
yeah, yep.
which I slaughtered them all. Uh, was
Good,
like, this
as
is
you
what you
should.
get. Yeah.
No remorse in that world, no.
But I loved, like, I kept going, found some more little groups as I went along. And I'm like, oh, I'm just kind of wondering where this goes. And I saw a spot that says you can transport to the beginning, but I was like, no, I think the cave goes a little bit more. So I ignored it and kept going, got all the way through and ended up on an island off on the side
Yep.
that's
The
got
dragon
some kind
communion
of
place.
dragon. Yeah. Which I'm not sure what to do there yet, but I'm like, cool. I found a
Oh,
whole nother
you
area.
So you get these items from killing dragons, and then called dragon hearts, and then
Uh-huh.
you just trade those in to get miracles,
Oh, cool.
spells, basically.
Right. But I just it kind of clicked with me though that I like, oh cool, I went in here in this cave to explore it. Oh, I found a whole new island when I went through here to find this. And that, I hear other people that always enjoy this stuff for Dark Souls games, and I was happy to finally have that experience for myself yesterday.
Yeah.
And it makes me want to play it more. And I'm like, God, I hate the fact I'm not going to have this with me while I'm on my trip because I want to play it.
You could
So
always remote play, or well, you're playing on Xbox or PC.
Xbox,
Okay. Well, I guess you could. Does Xbox have a remote play option?
they do. I don't really mess around with it too much. I don't know if I'd want to deal with any of that lag.
Oh
While
yeah, no, any kind of input lag in that game would be
would
awful.
kill.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be terrible. So
um, yeah. I mean, so what was I going to say? That no, I think that's really interesting because I feel like that's always been the Dark Souls loop. Just this really broadens it even more. But I have to
yeah,
ask you, like, what's
yeah.
something that would stop you from enjoying it? Like, what is the thing? Because obviously you've come. It seems like you've come to terms with the challenges or difficulties of the game now, whereas it seemed like that would put you off before. So, what's
What
something that like potentially could turn you off from the game?
what would stop me for part of that, or part of my frustrations? I would get to the point where like, okay, I may have found alternate paths or whatever, but you would always run into a large creature, some kind of fight that
Mhm.
you could not do anything else until you surpass that. And like
Yeah,
I
okay,
would
so like an
die and
actual
then get
roadblock,
put
yeah.
back and have to go through. And here it's like, hey, this is difficult. I can't really make it through this right now. But now I can literally just be like, well, I'm just going to go right, or I'll go left, or I'll go this way, and find something else to. Even if people call it grinding or whatever they want to do, but I can still explore and continue and do something else, and I don't feel like my gameplay has been halted. It's
Mhm,
just it may have changed course, and I'll get back to that, but I'm not stuck just with that. It's that repetitive loop that I get frustrated, and that's what kills it for me, because my brain wants me to explore, to find new things, to do that stuff, and Elden Ring is giving me that enjoyment, that need to look for these new things. And if I want to go in and do these challenges and those fights, I have the freedom to go do that, but I don't feel like I have to. Like
mhm,
the only if I don't go through and put myself through this, I can't do anything else. The option is still there. That's the key for me, I think.
mhm.
It's like Final Fantasy X. I have tried 3 times to play through that game. I do really enjoy it, but I always would get to a certain point. I don't know why I'd get to the campsite and then just stop playing. And I
Hmm.
continued past it and got to one of the bigger boss fights with, I can't remember the guy's name, the preacher guy, or whatever. And it
Seymour?
I think it was Seymour. Like something, I don't know if I didn't level up something correctly, but like he would just keep wiping me over and over
Yeah,
again.
it's just this sounds like this one of the Seymour
And
battles.
someone else told me like you could grind your way all the way back to do this other thing so you can fight him. And I'm like, that's literally like a couple of hours of going back and grinding and fighting that. And I'm like,
Huh.
and it just kind of like, okay, I'm not, I can't do anything else until I do that. And I moved on to play something else. And like, cause it just killed it for me. I'm like, that's not fun anymore. Like,
Right. Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, a lot of RPGs sort of had that. Like my girlfriend's playing through Mother 1 right now, and that game has a lot of things in it where to get to an optimal spot where you can grind or like just grind, I guess, to make things a little
right,
easier for you, you have to go back like super far, and it's like a huge effort
right.
and ordeal just to do something that's like should be in theory pretty simple. Um, but yeah, I mean, like, so like the whole thing about like being able to step away from something and go to something else. Um, I will be that guy and say that that has always been in Souls to some extent, but never
Right.
to this level. And I think that um for the game, I don't know if like let's say there was a Dark Souls 4, right? Just theoretically,
Hmm.
or Bloodborne 2. I don't think these Elden Rings things would work as well in those games as it does in Elden Ring.
And I get that. And I don't think every game needs to be this way. I'm not saying those games are bad
Yes.
by any means. They just didn't click with me personally, which
Right.
everybody's going to have different tastes on that,
Mhm,
you know?
and I wish that more people would just kind of see it like that. Like, I don't like playing survival horror games because I don't like not being able to go unga bunga on stuff and, like, just stealth, I can't stand it, right? But when I if I play Metal Gear Solid, like, that's part of the game. Yeah, I could drop it down
Right.
to easy and just run through it or whatever, but, like, to me, that defeats the purpose of sort of playing it. And granted, this is also my experience too. This is my opinion on my
Hmm.
experience, which could differ. So,
Yeah.
like, um, you know, at the end of the day, I don't ever really want games to cater to me as long as they're not being purposely obtrusive. You know, like straight up just not telling you something just to make it harder or whatever, like that. And you can argue
Right.
there's some stuff in Elden Ring about that. Some people were talking a little bit about UI or UX issues,
Oh,
which I kind of agree with some of those.
I
I also
saw
think,
some of that. I think the biggest thing I wish they would change is the ability to pause. And let me
yeah, because
clarify,
it was in
not
Sekiro. It was
yeah.
in Sekiro, so it's kind of funny. But you can
I
pause.
yeah, I saw about that. You can go into the options and then have it explained.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah,
it's a
yeah.
whole roundabout. Like I understand if you're playing in the online mode, don't have a pause. You go into that because you have the choice.
Right.
And I understand that. But if I'm playing in offline mode, parents, people with pets, people with medical conditions, or just have to pee,
Yeah.
sometimes you need to just stop for a minute to go take care of something because life does not stop because you're playing games.
Hmm.
And I always kind of feel like that's not asking or making your game easier. It's just realize we're people. We have to do things
Yeah.
sometimes.
Well, you know, on one side of that argument, it's like the game does make getting back to where you were way easier. So what do you lose, a couple minutes? But I agree that it does for offline games. I don't really. I could understand during a boss fight, like, you know, like maybe not being able to pause.
Yeah.
But even then, like, yeah, for an offline game, it does seem kind of strange.
Yeah,
Um,
especially if you know if that's the mode you're in, like just you know, that's like saying like if you're watching Netflix, you can't pause the movie. Like, well, this isn't a movie theater. Like if you go to a movie
right.
theater, you don't have that expectation you can pause it. But if you're home and it's just you, things can happen and you need to pause sometimes, you
Right,
know.
and the game needs to present an argument strong enough to for me to be like, "Okay, yeah, I see why you don't have pausing." Right? Like,
Right.
in an MMO, I buy the argument
Oh
because why
yeah.
how could you pause an MMO, right? Like, it doesn't, you
Right.
know, the world, that's the point of it. Um, and I think part of that is implicit in Souls design where it's like they want to make things always feel dangerous to you, right? Uh, but at the same time, I don't know if the form follows the function there.
Like
That's one of those things I could understand.
I would love if there was a way at least like, hey, let me fast travel to the nearest grace, but not rest there. Like I don't want to be punished and bring everything back to life. I just need a spot where I can stand there while I go take care of this because hey, my dog just
Mhm.
puked up something or
Right,
the
which
cat knocked
actually
over the
happened to
trash
me a
can.
couple times. I died a couple times because of this exact reason. And I
Oh,
like, so the only times I died in the entire no, I'm kidding. Uh, I always like comparing and contrasting our ADD because I feel like it manifests so differently.
yeah, which is
It's like,
interesting.
yeah, which is two sides of the same coin, right? But I was gonna say so dying. Yeah, I can't really, even though I could sit there and I could play through a game in 12 hours. Like I had like a 12-hour Elden Ring session, if not maybe a little longer, probably a little longer.
Wow.
But that doesn't mean that I'm sitting there glued to my TV. I'm like, I'd
Right.
check my phone, I'd get a snack, I'd like pace around, pet my dog a little bit, um, talk to my girlfriend in the kitchen, you know, like stuff like that. I realize that I can't sit still, um, or stop myself from swearing.
It's all right.
Apparently,
It's
uh,
fine.
but that so I get it. I get that. And there are definitely times where uh, one of the things actually that happened to me was I ordered, or Amazon came
Mhm.
to deliver something, and they called me, and I'm like fighting a dragon, and I'm like, oh no, oh no, what do yeah, okay, so I sat there and I'm spamming square to heal myself just in case,
Oh,
like,
wow. See,
um,
like if it, a couple minute distraction is one thing, but yeah, you could be in the middle of a boss fight that can last for a while.
mhm,
That's a lot of time you can just kind of throw away. And I don't mind, like, if I go challenge something and I'm playing it and I die, and then I have to go back and kind of work on it and I'm doing that,
right,
that
it feels more
that's fine.
active.
Right.
Mhm.
If something I can't prevent happens and I'm not able to pause it and I die, that just feels cheap. It makes me like, do you care about the fact that I have other things that have to happen? You know, and like I said, this if you're online on those modes, I completely get not having a pause. Like you said,
Mhm.
you can't pause real life, but you can pause what you're doing if you're by yourself just chilling out. Like
Yeah,
I think my
and
theater
then,
and
like, if the
Netflix is my
game
favorite example.
yeah, and if the game offers you an offline mode, I get it. Like, you should that seems like yeah, then you should have some of those conveniences. I think that's probably as far as I would go in terms of, like, conveniences I think that are lacking in the
Hmm.
game. Uh, what my biggest thing, and this is just probably a me problem, I have, like, terrible environmental awareness. I think part of it is because I could only see, like, one small thing very clearly, and then the rest is just completely blurry.
That's right.
Um,
You were telling me about your vision issues and the similars, like with
y
my daughters. So,
yeah, so, like, I'm sure you know this firsthand,
uh
but so that's a problem for me, and part of it just me being stupid, but spatial awareness is is something that I lack, and so I use mini maps so much. I'm so reliant on mini maps, and Elden Ring has a great map. It's a really nice little map. It doesn't completely tell you where to go, but it's like everything is pretty clearly marked.
right.
Um, but it goes away when you're in combat, and there's no reason for that. Like, if I want to die because
Oh.
I'm pulling up my map and I can't see the enemy. That's my choice to make. Why can't you let me make it? Like, what do I have to, like, run away or just, like, try to find a skeleton that's stuck behind a tree to open up my map?
Yeah, I noticed that the
Um,
other day. I thought my button was broken. I was like, why can I not
yeah.
pull this up? Why am I hearing this? Dun,
Right.
dun, dun,
So I 100% get not fast traveling. Yeah, because you shouldn't just be able to fast travel whenever you're in the smallest modicum of danger.
Right.
But
I've seen a
not
lot of
being
games like
able
you can't fast travel. There's enemies nearby. That's not a new
right.
thing.
Yeah, that makes sense for multiple reasons. But yeah, there's a couple stuff. There's a couple things like that. There should have been an option to where if you pick up an item, you could immediately go to it in your inventory.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times I'd pick up items. I picked up one thing. It was like called I forgot what it was called, but it looked like a talisman. Uh,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, I'm looking through my talisman list. And by the way, you can sort your items for like what you just most recently picked up, but it's still
Um,
categorized in certain things. So there's not like one all items button, right?
yeah.
Or tab, I'm sorry. So a lot of times I'd pick something up and be like, where is this in my inventory? And because it's an open world game, it has a ton of stuff. Um, I get it. That's frustrating. It's like kind of like, and that to me, that's not like FromSoft design. That's just
Right.
like sort of. I wouldn't say it's not bad user experience, but I wouldn't say it's good either. It's just like a little clumsy,
It's an annoyance. Like
right?
I've always
And
liked the way that some games would do it. Like you pick up an item when you go look at it in your menu. If you haven't messed with it yet or it's new, it has like a little
it's a
mark
different
on it.
call. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
That
then
would
when
have
you
been
go through
nice.
and look at it and read it, the mark goes away, and you're like, "Hey, I've read that."
Right.
Yeah.
And I get that a big part of Soul's inventory stuff is like emergent gameplay or emergent storytelling where you pick up an item like, "Oh, what's that? Let me check it out. What does it do?" And it's like a little bit unclear and vague, and it's purposely like that. That's
Hmm.
different. That's completely different.
Right.
What we're talking about here is like a strict UI issue. Like And I think people have been really defensive over this kind of thing. Like, well, it's like everyone's instinctive thing is just like, we'll get good at inventory
Oh, I hate
management,
that.
which there is nothing. By the way, again, despite the fact that I agree with the sentiment of like, get better, understand the thing, you're failing because you're sucking. As much as I agree with that sentiment, the whole get good thing is pure, unadulterated, crystallized cringe to me. It's so stupid. It destroys discourse. It makes me disengage. It's like, it's so unfunny. It's never been funny. It's like, I hate it so much. I hate it
And it's
so much.
and the whole idea can be fixed in such a way. I think you could still say it. You can still say, "Hey, you're having trouble. You need to get good," and then
Yeah.
start explaining how they can.
Right.
That's the
Or
biggest
not just
difference.
like, oh,
If you're going to sit there and say you need to get better, cool. Help me figure out how. And I think, like I said, when Jeremy sat down with me when we were playing this, and I was going through the beginning of it, and he was explaining more of the mechanics in the regards to Dark Souls and stuff. It made more sense. That alone may have been the whole catalyst of why I'm still enjoying this, which I know he's going
right.
to love hearing that. But I still want to get him in here more while we're playing it. And I'm going to make sure when I leave for this trip, I'm going to take the disc and load it on the Xbox One X in the living room so he can start playing it in there. And eventually, I'll pick up another copy for them to play. And this is how he's going to find out about it on the
You've been
podcast.
playing this game and your son hasn't been. Jeremy.
He's been playing Final Fantasy 14.
Oh, okay. That's okay. You know what? That's a very fair point. Okay.
Yeah, him and John have been playing that together. So we'll
Nice.
eventually pick this up. But I think all right, we've had a pretty good discussion about this. We've been going for a little while on it. I think it's about
Sorry.
time. No, I am perfectly fine. I'm loving this discussion, and this is what I'm liking about this with this game. I'm able to have this discussion and enjoy it. I don't feel like I'm trying to force my way into a group that doesn't want me in there. That with the whole get
Mhm.
good and all that crap. Like this is more. I'm more welcomed. I'm having more fun. I'm figuring out a lot more of the stuff, like looking stuff up, like for looking those things up. A lot of people, that's how they play. They may not admit to it, but a lot of people, the groups get together and share information of how they're doing it, what they found, and what they're doing. And I'm like, cool. I'm relying on that more, and I'm enjoying it. So who cares? Like that's
Yeah.
how I'm enjoying the game. That's how I'm going to do it. So I just need to make sure you guys would actually start buying this on Xbox so you can freaking play multiplayer with me. I want to try co-op. I haven't done it
So
yet.
I can't do multiplayer in Souls. I really can't. I like that it's an option.
I want to
I
try
just
it.
yeah, I mean it's like it's kind of fun, sure.
Mhm.
I just what I look for in these games is different than that. And like
Right.
my and I'm not snubbing my nose at it. I think it's great
But it's
that
your
people
choice. That's what I
it's my
like about it.
choice, yeah.
Right.
And that's what I've always really liked about these games is that player experience is so varied. And I have one last anecdote to share that I
Yeah,
think
go
is
for it.
kind of funny.
Go for it.
Um, so my HDMI cable on my PS5. Okay, so I don't know if it's my PS5 port. I don't know if it's my TV. I hope it's on my TV because it's a brand new TV. But something has been happening with it since I
Uh-huh.
switched out the HDMI cable to my capture card. I've been plugging directly into my TV now. Um, Something's been happening, like, and I notice it happens when the PS5 gets hot. Is that for just like a second, it's like I'm switching the input. Like it's like it looks like someone unplugged the HDMI cable and plugged it back in.
Oh,
So for
that's not
like
good.
anywhere from like a second to 3 seconds, this happens like randomly. Sometimes it happens like twice in 30 minutes. Sometimes it happens once every 8 hours, you
I had
know?
a TV go out that started that way. It was a cascade failure that got worse.
Oh no. I hope it's not my
Yeah. I
TV.
had to
Because it's only
replace
happened on the PS5 though,
it
not on
might be
the
that it
Fire
might be
Stick.
that particular import. Try swapping ports.
Yeah, yeah. It might be because it's like on in the back, the direct
Mhm.
or one rather than the ones on the side. So it could very well be that.
Shouldn't matter with
Um,
that. They go to the same board, but anyways, continue.
mhm. Yeah,
Just
yeah.
having
I'm
trouble
thinking
seeing it.
maybe that back part was maybe like not um like done well or something. I don't know. But either way, it could be the PS5. I don't know. I've noticed a correlation between the PS5 being hot and this. So my
Mhm.
guess it's maybe it's just my cable. I don't know. But the problem with this, you can see why the game everything turning black for a couple seconds would be a big problem,
Yeah,
right?
you can't pause it.
Um, I had a situation with one of the hardest boss fights in the game, and I was doing so well. And then all of a sudden, the thing just clips out for 5 seconds, and I eat a full combo of the boss's attack and died.
Oh, that sucks.
And I don't think anything I don't think anything pissed me off more than that. Like, it was like the game was like, "Hey, man, I heard that you need I heard that you need a handicap. But if we did this for you?" So I wanna share that frustration. That has nothing to do with Elden Ring proper, but I thought it was an interesting gameplay dynamic that kind of
Just
goes in
your
the way of
TV's not
pausing.
going out,
Mhm.
right? Oh, that sucks. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. So, Joey, I greatly appreciate you joining me on this show once again. But let the people know, where can we find you on the internet?
Thank you again for having me as always.
Always.
But you can find me. I mostly use Twitter for social media stuff. But twitter.com/podcastjump PODCASTJUMP. You can find my podcast on SoundCloud and Spotify and all the fun stuff. Jump and Shoot, a gaming podcast. YouTube, Twitch, all the good stuff. We do Super RPG Friends every Thursday night at 8 p.m. EST. Still playing through Shining Force 1. Got some great guests on this week. One of our hosts is coming back. It's going to be a
Nice.
lot of fun. So by the time this episode goes live, I'm sure people have a chance to plug it.
Right.
So there you go.
Have that
That's all I
going
got.
next. Okay.
Thank you again, man. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you, especially about stuff that I'm still in the weeds with. you know.
Yeah, we still need to figure out some Mega Man episodes, the extra quarters to do. I haven't done any of those in a while. But I've
Mm-hmm.
been your host, Jeremy Powers. You can find me at Zenspath, Zenspath over on Twitter. You can find the official Twitter account for the Zenspath 4-Button Podcast at Zenspath Pod, Zenspath Pod, over on Twitter, where you can chat with us, let us know what you think of the show, talk with other people and everything. I stream over on twitch.tv/Zenspath on occasion. Won't be doing it for the next 2 weeks because I won't be home. I will miss my house while I am gone.
And Elden
Um,
Ring.
and Elden Ring, yeah. I was halfway tempted to buy it digitally and take my Series S with me. Like, that's how bad I've been enjoying it. I contemplated it. And then also you can find my videos I do, including my Moving Forward video series, as well as the video version of this podcast, over at youtube.com/ZenspathCom. All right. Well, this has been episode 61 of the Zenspath 4-Button Podcast, and we are out. Peace. Fuck Russia on this. Screw you, Putin.